Look nice, okay.
Nice.
Exactly, yeah, that'll be hard. Good afternoon, my name is Trent Baggett. I'm the Executive Coordinator of the Oklahoma District Attorney's Council, and we are here today to announce a new program that will be launching next week to reduce the number of uninsured motorists on Oklahoma's roadways. At the end of the statements that are going to be made by the various individuals, we'll have some time for question and answer, so please hold your questions until then. The first speaker that we have, the various speakers that we have today, we have Brian Hermanson. Brian Hermanson is the DA for Noble and Kay County. We have Kevin Buchanan. Kevin is the District Attorney for Washington County and Nowata County. And Steve Kunzweiler is the District Attorney here in Tulsa. Brian, would you like to say a few words?
Good afternoon. It's good to be here today, and thank you for coming. As Trent mentioned, I'm the District Attorney for Kay and Noble County. I also serve as the Chair of the District Attorney Council. Many people don't realize that we've had a problem in Oklahoma that is damaging many citizens of the state, and that is that about a quarter, one-fourth of the drivers on the roads in the state of Oklahoma are driving without insurance. It's putting citizens at risk. It is putting their family life at risk, in that people that drive with perhaps just insurance enough to cover damages to their vehicle are being struck by people without insurance, and therefore being left with no vehicles, no ability to replace those vehicles. People that are carrying insurance are being faced with mounting bills, both hospital and other types, because people are not getting insurance that they're required to do under the law. Recognizing that problem, about 3 years ago, the District Attorney's Council, along with the state legislature, got together and passed a law to set up a new program that's the first of its kind in the nation. It is a diversion program. It's called the Uninsured Vehicle Enforcement Diversion Program, or UVED, and you'll hear us call it UVED quite a bit. The District Attorney's Council will be the administrator of that program. It begins November 1st of this year, and as I mentioned before, this is the first state in the Union to have this type of program. There's programs similar to this in other countries, but not in the United States. It will use a series of cameras located throughout the state that are called automatic license plate readers, and they'll be placed in different parts of the state to read license plates, recognize those plates that do not have insurance in place on the vehicles, and report those to the DAC. And we're going to have some more details about that in just a short period of time. The main reason for this program is indeed to protect the citizens of the state of Oklahoma, to make sure that there's compliance, make sure that every vehicle on the roadway has proper insurance, and that to remove that safety hazard for the citizens of the state of Oklahoma. The passing of Senate Bill 359 accomplishes that and put this in place, and indeed this will be a way to divert people out of criminal courts for failure to have the insurance and put them into a non-criminal, non-court type setting where they can, for much less money, stay out of criminal court, get this resolved, and be in compliance with the law. We are going to be using both fixed cameras and mobile cameras to accomplish that. They're going to be, we've contracted with a group called Census Gatso Group, and they will provide the cameras, the software, the support, and all the manpower in the field to see that the cameras are out there recording, taking down, making sure that every vehicle that's on the roadway that does not have a proper insurance is recorded and put into the system, and then for long enough for us to send out notice, get those people compliant, and then just getting rid of that information. To go into more detail about this, I'd like to introduce Kevin Buchanan. As mentioned before, he is the District Attorney for Washington and Nowata counties. He's also the past chairperson of the District Attorney's Council. Kevin.
Thank you, Brian. Afternoon. So let's talk a little bit about how this works. First of all, maybe the most important thing is this program will not come at the cost of anything to the taxpayers everyone who has vehicle insurance on their car will not pay a dime for this program. So between GATSO and our contractor, and they are providing all the equipment, the software, and then of course the funds generated from the system itself will pay for this. So this is not a taxpayer expense. Here's how the program works. So we're going to start with about 5 cameras in the main metropolitan areas, Tulsa and Oklahoma City. They will be mobile. They'll move around from location to location and provide coverage in the metros, again, in the initial phase. We're going to start adding several more cameras in the months following this opening phase, and those mobile units, and all the vehicles and other forms that these cameras will be mounted on will begin to move out from the metro areas and eventually provide coverage for all 77 counties in the state of Oklahoma. So commissioned law enforcement officers will be receiving the information, and that information is both an image of a tag and then the information that we receive from the State Insurance Commission's database as to whether or not an insurance policy is or is not attached to that tag. If there is an insurance policy attached to the tag, that information is out of the system and gone. Those without insurance policies attached will then go through a review program. They will be reviewed by commissioned law enforcement officers and compared to the Oklahoma insurance verification system, which contains all the information we need, both tag and insurance. The following is going to happen. If we have a tag that registered no insurance, then it'll be reviewed by a UVED prosecutor that is in the District Attorney's Council. It's one of our employees. Second, they will be sent a notice to respond along with a copy of the photo of their tag. Third, they're going to be told that if they will provide insurance, proof of insurance on their vehicle, they will sign a 2-year agreement, which primarily will require them to continue to provide proof of insurance ongoing from there and pay a $174 fee. Then they will be entered into the program. They avoid the following: getting caught and towed. They avoid being arrested. They avoid their driver's license being revoked by the Department of Public Safety. That's what happens now to people who are caught. All of those things they avoid if they are willing to enter into the program. The program is not going to be able to, it's not going to include fleet vehicles, tribal vehicles, and out-of-state vehicles. The program requires us to be connected to or be able to access state automobile insurance databases. And so right now, Oklahoma is the only database that we will be in contact with. So let's talk about that fee, that $174. That's going to be divided between the District Attorney's Council, who will receive $94, and Census GATSO Group will receive $80. The money from the district, or that goes to the District Attorney Council, will be broken up between $74 of that will be divided amongst the 27 District Attorney's offices in the state of Oklahoma and the District Attorney's Council itself. So we will divide that up in accordance with a formula that we've adopted. At year 3, that amount goes up to $80 per contract, and at year 6, that goes up to $86. $5 of that money will go to the payment processing. $10 will go to the Oklahoma insurance verification system for maintenance of that hardware, software, all of that program. And $5 goes into the Oklahoma Pension Improvement Revolving Fund, which is connected to law enforcement. So finally, if a driver receives a notice in error, for a variety of reasons, and we anticipate there will be some circumstances where people will get an erroneous letter, but if that happens, then all they will need to do is contact their insurance carrier, have their carrier provide the insurance information to our program, the UVED program, and that notice will be revoked or torn up or whatever we need to do with it in order that they not bother with it any longer. So, at the end of this, we're going to take more questions, but right now I would like to introduce the district attorney here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Steve Kunzweiler.
So in many respects, this is kind of where the rubber hits the road. What do you know about driving? Driving's not a right. It's a privilege. And with that privilege comes responsibility. And that responsibility is to your fellow citizens on the road. You heard Mr. Hermanson speak to the statistic that 25% of the people on the road in Oklahoma right now currently don't have insurance. And why do we have that responsibility to have insurance? It's to protect you. It's to protect you in case there is some type of collision that's going to result in damage to your property, in damage to your children, in damage to anything else that you possess, whether somebody's running off the road and damaging your property. The citizens of this state have determined that there is a value in compulsory insurance to make sure that everybody is protected. So let's not forget, driving's not a right, it's a privilege, and we want to make sure, the DAs of this state, we want to make sure that we get that accomplished. It's a program that makes sense, not only for the state, it's a program that makes sense for you, the individual citizen who wants to be protected and live a life in which, if you have been damaged, we're going to find a way to make sure that you get restored whole. Ultimately, the goal is this: if we can reduce those numbers down, if we can move down from 25% to a level in which we get everybody who's on our roads driving with insurance, then we've done our job. The worst thing that any prosecutor or any police officer has to do is have to deal with somebody who's just choosing to take advantage of the system when they know it's a privilege. We want you to be responsible when you're driving. So I'll turn that back over to Trent Baggett, and he'll introduce our next speaker.
We were hopeful today that Insurance Commissioner John Doak was going to be able to join us, but they've had a family emergency and he is unable to. But he has a representative from the insurance department offices here in Tulsa, Mr. John Mills. He's going to make a few comments. We also have Andrew Noble with Census Gatso, who is the camera company, if he wants to make any comments or if you have any questions of him. John?
Thank you very much. I want to thank everybody that's come and spoke today. As you've heard, we've had a real issue in Oklahoma with uninsured motorists. Nobody wants to be the victim of an automobile accident, but it's so much harder on those victims when it occurs and the person responsible does not have the insurance and the ability to take care of the damage and the injuries that they cause. We've been aware for a number of years that Oklahoma has one of the very highest incident rates of uninsured motorists driving on our roads, and it's been something that we at the department have worked hard to address. We've approached this problem from many different angles because it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. We've looked at education of our motorists here in the state. We've also looked at legislative solutions, and we believe what we're accomplishing now will be a big component to helping us bring that incident rate of uninsured motorists down to the minimum possible. We're very excited about having the opportunity to participate in this program at the insurance department. We believe that technology has advanced in a way that will allow us to greatly exceed what we were able to do previously in the way of the database that we control, and with the technology that's being implemented through the cameras being dispersed around our state, we're going to have a way to reach out to those individuals specifically who are driving on our roads without insurance and let them know that they are in violation of our laws, that they do have a responsibility to the drivers they share the roads with, and that they need to take care of that concern. We believe the diversion program is a successful way to both enforce the law and also provide education to the members of our community who need to know that if they're going to be on our roads, that they need to take care of their responsibilities under the law. With that, I'd like to introduce Andrew Noble with the Census Gatso Group to comment more on the specifics of the program.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Andrew Noble from Census Gatsa Group. It's a privilege to be here with you today. I'm based out of Boston, Massachusetts, but been coming here for the last 18 months as it became apparent that the state of Oklahoma wanted to roll out a comprehensive approach to uninsured drivers here in the state of Oklahoma. And I witnessed firsthand over the last 12 months in particular how there's been a huge collaboration between the Tax Commission, the District Attorney's Council, the Oklahoma Insurance Department, and Office of Management and Enterprise Services to bring about a comprehensive program that's both transparent, fair, and accurate to the state of Oklahoma for the first time, and for the first time in this country as well. While insurance databases have had a lot of work in the last decades across the country, this is the first time we're going to see on-street enforcement in parallel with the database work that's been done by all these departments in the last 12 months. And we're very excited to be a part of this project. I think Mr. Buchanan talked very clearly about how the program is going to roll out. We have mobile vehicles starting initially in Oklahoma City and Tulsa, but very quickly we're rolling those out to the more rural areas of the state, replacing some of those mobile locations with fixed camera points across the state, and the choke points and the high volume traffic areas where we predominantly see a lot of these vehicles. And it's our job as a contractor to the state to ensure that we enact our services in conjunction with SB 359, which passed Senate some years ago now to allow for this program to start, and Title 47. And we've committed to the state of opening an office here in Oklahoma. We're doing that, hiring local Oklahomans to work in our program and work on the services for the city in the short term. And we think it's going to be a very successful program going forwards. We've also engaged some great community outreach and public information campaigns, TV ads, newspaper ads, websites and billboards. And as Mr. Mills said, we want to make this part of the community and really try and focus on some of the education. There's a lot of people out there that do have insurance. Some will erroneously get a notice to respond from us, but there's a very simple and quick mechanism by which we can stop the clock and have that taken away. It's just the way databases work. But we're focusing on those that don't have insurance, and I think we're trying very hard collaboratively to drive up insurance compliance to the numbers that you see predominantly in other parts of the country. Oklahoma historically has had the highest number of non-compliance in the country, and there's a lot of efforts being gone in by state government here to react to that in the long term. That's all I have for the presentation standpoint. Happy to take any questions if you have them in particular.
How many cameras will there be when it's all up and running?
I think when the program's mature, we'll see between 20 and 30 cameras across the state. There will always be a component of mobile cameras moving from location to location. Sometimes they'll be parked up for a few hours. Sometimes they'll just be driving around. There'll be just regular vehicles at the side of the road. You'll be seeing those. But I think majority of our program will be fixed cameras in some of the high funnel points.
Will there be signs alerting the public?
As I said, we have a large-scale public information campaign going out. We're certainly not flagging ahead of time that there's an enforcement vehicle ahead. That just changes driver behavior to get down the side street and avoid the vehicle, and that negates the whole value of an enforcement program in the first place. But certainly a lot of work's gone into public education beforehand.
I mean, on a fixed pole camera, I mean, like we have with red light enforcement cameras in other states. Will there be some?
No, there won't be. The state of Oklahoma doesn't have any red light cameras or speed cameras. In some states that they do, they actually talk to signage ahead of time. But in Oklahoma, this is just an ALPR camera, and it's only specifically taking pictures of license plates of cars that don't have insurance. We're not taking pictures of every car going past the camera. It's just those that don't have insurance.
In your response to the proposal, you mentioned up to 5,000 citations a day. Is that what you're still looking at?
At the end of the day, we just don't know how many they're going to be. We've seen the statistics of how bad non-compliance has been in the state of Oklahoma. We know statistically where people live and how many people are here in the predominant metropolitan areas. But it's not going to be until the opening weeks of the program we find out how bad the problem is. We can handle up to 10,000, 5,000 a day with ease. But are we going to get that many? We just don't know. I don't think anyone can foretell what the future is going to be in the opening days of the program.
So the 20,000 per month statistic is that?
It's a possibility.
How long will the data be kept for those that are found to be in violation?
It's kept for the duration of the 2-year period under which they're asked to maintain their insurance compliance. This is a diversion program, so Their obligation by accepting their willingness to go into the diversion program is to pay the fee of $174 previously outlined by Mr. Buchanan. And it's also to sign up to the premise and the promise of keeping and getting insurance. If they don't keep and get insurance, that will be reflected in the database going forwards. And then the District Attorney's Council reserves the right to then prosecute those owners under the law at that time. No, SB 359 and Title 47 is very clear. Our data and the images we capture can purposefully and only be used for the sense of this program. Sorry?
Even with the subpoena?
I can't answer a question like that, but I can tell you that that's the House bill is very clear.
Which sworn officers will be checking the tickets?
Sorry?
Who are the sworn officers that will be checking those tickets?
There's two levels of officers. We have our own staff at Census Gatso who always do the first pass of looking at the quality control to make sure we can read the plate correctly. We then hand it off to the District Attorney's Council as an image set, as a violation packet to say, these meet your criteria. They're eligible to be promoted to and notice to respond. And the District Attorney's Council have their own staff. And perhaps, Mr. Baggett, you'd like to talk about your staff and where they come from.
We do that. We have, we're going to start out with a couple of retired law enforcement, actually, in the beginning, and expand as need to be. That's what we anticipate right now.
What were your options if they don't pay the ticket?
If they don't pay, what would happen at that point is if they don't respond or they don't pay, then the notice would go out to the district attorney where they live, and that district attorney would contact them then about either filing a charge or trying to go through some diversion program on their local level. That would be up to that district attorney where they live.
And that would be based on the sworn affidavit of a retired officer?
Yes.
That's still, you can still do that?
Yes, absolutely. I might also say, I misspoke earlier. I referred to John Mills. He may have a friend, he may have a relative named John, but that's James Mills. I beg your pardon. Anybody have any other questions? Anything for any of our district attorneys that are here? Or Mr. Mills? James Mills?
The 174 is the, that's when you fix a fee.
I beg your pardon?
The 174 fee, that'll be fixed throughout the duration, it's not gonna change?
Yes. Well, I mean, that's up to the legislature, but it's in statute right now. It's completely calculable. It's just simple math, and yes, so if that's changed, it'll be up to the legislature. We don't have any say over that.
How does that differ from a ticket that you get from just driving around?
Well, you would not get you're not going to be subject to having your car tag taken, subject to having your car towed. You're not going to be subject to having your license suspended, and you're also not going to have any sort of a conviction that you might have through district court and have to pay higher fines and costs.
You know what the cost difference is?
I'm sorry?
You know what the cost difference is?
I can't tell you that 100%, but I would say it's going to be in the neighborhood of probably $75 to $100 at least. This program will be less than that. Okay. Anything else? Thank you. We appreciate your time.